Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday evening here on our YouTube channel. I hope you guys are all well. I've been away last week simply because I was quite sick, and we're just putting everything back together again. All right, so we're back in action, and we're going to carry on as usual. Today, we're going to start a new topic, and it's called "Unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in it in vain." All right, so we're going to use the selected excerpts as usual from the morning lesson to kind of reinforce what we've learned before in the morning lesson and kind of go over it, and hopefully it'll help us kind of establish a better foundation if we go over it again. Okay, so we're going to start with excerpt number 1 from Rabash. What is there is no blessing in that which is counted in the work. Okay, so we're just going to read the excerpts just like every Tuesday night, nothing different. If you have any questions or queries, shoot them through. You got questions and we'll find answers together from the excerpts and see how we move forward. Okay. It's also Yom Kippur this evening for those who are keeping it. Okay, happy Yom Kippur. I don't think you'd be here. You wouldn't be watching if it was, though. So, all right, we'll just carry on. It is written, unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in it in vain. The meaning of unless the Lord builds a house is that the heart becomes a building of holiness. Labor in it in vain means that the labor is futile. Its builders are those who want to build a structure of Kedusha. They must know and believe that without his help, for he both gives the kli, the desire and the yearning to bestow, as well as the light, which is the power that a person receives so he can work in order to bestow. He gives everything, but a person must first act. That is, before the work, a person must say, if I'm not for me, who is for me? Afterward, he should say, unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in it in vain. All right, so let's check it out again. As usual, we'll read it twice and we'll try to figure out what he's trying to convey to us here. It's written in Psalms 127, unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in it in vain. The meaning of unless the Lord builds a house is that the heart becomes a building of holiness or Kedusha. So a building, obviously, when we're talking about building a house, or sometimes they talk about the temple and so forth, they're not talking about, obviously, bricks and mortar. They're talking about the heart of a person. So what we want to do is build a holy place inside of ourselves, which is called a heart. Why? Because our heart is the desires. All our desires are known as the heart. So we want to actually not find, but want to build a place where the Creator can be felt inside us. Okay, and that's called a place of holiness. So that's what building a house is. However, it seems we've got a bit of a problem, because if the Creator doesn't build it, it's not going to happen. All right, so how can we deal with that? How are we going to, on the one hand, we have to study spirituality to build our spirituality. Okay. On the other hand, the Kabbalists are saying, well, good luck with that, because if the Creator isn't going to do it, nothing's going to help you. So you can work until kingdom come and still get nowhere. Okay, so that's the whole thing. So its builders are those who want to build a structure of holiness. They must know and believe that without his help, for he both gives the kli, which is the desire, and the yearning to bestow, as well as the light, which is the power that a person receives so he can work in order to bestow. So from this excerpt, we can see that the Creator is really doing all the work, right? So what are we doing? We're just participating. And it seems like he's giving us, right? He's giving us the kli, the desire. He's giving us the yearning to bestow. And he's given us the light, like the power, the strength, the sensation that we can do it. So the Creator is giving everything. So if he's giving everything, what we're going to do? So on the other hand, the Kabbalists are saying he gives everything, but a person must first act. So I have to always think like the ball is in my court. That is, before the work, a person must say, if I'm not for me, who is for me? afterwards he should say, unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in it in vain. So what I always have to do is, like, I got to feel like the ball's in my court. I've got to take initiative and I've got to make a move, right? So every time I have to try and do something. That's called exertion, effort. Now, despite the fact that my efforts, according to text as well, are absolutely futile, it's not completely futile, because it allows the person to come to an understanding that attaining the attribute of bestowal, despite whatever he does, is beyond his capacity. And this understanding is very important, because if I didn't have that understanding, I couldn't really turn to the Creator for an authentic request. Okay. If I don't know that, if I don't know that it's in my power, then there's always going to be an incomplete turn to the Creator, because I'm always going to think that I can do something. So why do I always have to think that if I'm not for me, who is for me? It means that I always have to exert my maximum amount and see at every phase that I am not capable of doing anything with respect to spirituality. Obviously, when we're talking about spirituality, we're talking about the wisdom of Kabbalah, right? So our nature is the attribute of reception for our own personal gain. The Creator's attribute, which is bestowal, is full 100% bestowal without the thought of any self-reception. So if I'm in a complete opposite nature with respect to the Creator, then I just have to see that I cannot change myself, right? And the only way I can see that is if I completely exert myself 100%, and then I feel like I'm okay, that's it, flat out, I've got nothing else I can do, right? If I see that state, then I can say, unless the Creator builds this house, it's game over. Right? And that's how we can turn to the Creator. So our effort, our exertion, and all the things that we do in order to move forward in spirituality is just to bring us to this point of realization. Not just the realization, but it's just like, you're seeing the truth. All right. You come to the point of seeing the truth that there's no way you're going to succeed here. And you need the Creator as a partner to help you make that leap. And that's it. If we didn't need the Creator to make this, then we'd never get connected with the Creator in the first place. Okay, so if it was in our capacity to change, if somehow we got this desire and the power to work and to change ourselves, well, we'd never need the Creator in the first place, and we'd never get connected. We'd never have a connection with the Creator in the first place. In order for us to come to a clear connection based on the need for the Creator, then we need to come to a state where I need the Creator to do something for me which I cannot do. Okay. And it actually works the other way around with the Creator as well, because without our exertion, without our effort, without our first step forward, the Creator can't act as well. I mean, look at the last sentence, right? It says, He gives everything, but a person must first act. So unless I first act, the Creator can't move either. So it turns out that we're mutually interdependent. So the Creator has to depend on me. I've got to depend on Him. It's this mutual kind of relationship. It's like a child and a mother, right? They're both mutually dependent on each other. So this is the same kind of situation here, right? So our work must first start with us, and then the Creator will then kind of like do the next step. And then on the next step, I've got to do the next step. And it's like this it's like playing table tennis or tennis. All right. We constantly got to wait for the ball to come to our side, and then we've got to hit that ball accordingly. And that's how it is. So the Creator is the only force that can change our nature, because He is the force that created our nature. So we have to come to a state where we want to change, where we want to get out of our nature, and humanity will As you can see, we're all getting there, right? Pretty soon, the whole world will just settle for the basics in life. They just won't want to do anything more. Okay, because there's just, like, that's it. Let's eat, sleep, and forget running after everything else. Any questions? You guys let me know. Wave to me or something so I know what's going on. Other than that, I'm moving on to the second excerpt. This is from Rabash, article number 24, the difference between charity and gift. After he has begun the work and begun to know that the main thing is to achieve adhesion with the Creator, called doing everything in order to bestow, the body begins to resist this work. However, there is great benefit in this resistance of the body, since by this a person develops a great deficiency, meaning he suffers from being far from adhesion with the Creator. And at that time, the more he regrets, the more he becomes needy of the Creator's help. Since then, he sees that he cannot exit self-love by himself, but only the Creator himself can help him. This is not a matter of understanding, but a matter of feeling. It is, as it is written, if the Lord does not build a house, they who built it labored in it in vain. All right, so let's read again. After he has begun the work and begun to know that the main thing is to achieve adhesion with the Creator, called doing everything in order to bestow, the body begins to resist this work. Okay, so this is also important for us to notice, right? When we start studying the wisdom of Kabbalah and we want to advance and we keep doing the things that the group is doing, we study daily and we're trying to, come to some kind of connection with the friends. And we begin to understand that we want to have a connection with the Creator, but having a connection with the Creator means to do everything in order to bestow to others. And when all of a sudden that dawns on us, that's kind of like creepy, okay? Because how can that be? Okay, how can it be that I'm going to do everything for somebody else's benefit and I'm not going to get anything? So that kind of raises the hairs on your neck a little bit, but that's the job of the body, right? So the body begins to resist this work. So we don't really want to move forward anymore once we begin to realize that bestowal means that I don't get anything. Zilch. However, there's great benefit in this resistance of the body, since by this a person develops a great deficiency, meaning he suffers from being far from dvekut with the Creator. Now, this is the advantage, right, of working against the desire of the body. So the more we want to advance towards the love of others, the more the body is against that work. But because we all have a dot in the heart, and as we read in the previous excerpt, it said the Creator is giving us everything, right? So he's giving us all these discernments. So as long as we keep studying and we don't kind of sway, we don't get out of direction, we don't lose the direction, we keep moving forward, the Creator, on the one hand, awakens the body. So our will to receive is like against studying the wisdom of Kabbalah. It's against moving towards the love of others, because the love of others means I get nothing and they get everything, right? So on the other hand, though, because we keep studying and we keep moving forward with the help of the friends, what happens is I begin to develop my dot in the heart. So on the one hand, my desire to receive is against bestowal. On the other hand, I want to get there. So I'm left in this dilemma, right? And this midpoint is really important, because if you're not like in between these two discernments, you're going to be on one side or the other. If you're on the other side, you're going to drop off. And if you're on the side of bestowal all the time, you're just going to go, I don't know, cuckoo. All right. Why? Because it's going to become some kind of fantasy. Right? It's not going to be realistic. Do you know what I mean? Because if you want to advance realistically, you got to feel that your desire to receive is against this process, because it always wants to get something for itself. So you can't free yourself from that. That desire to receive for yourself stays there, and it's fighting you on your path to bestowal, which is there. And this is the side of the creator, right? The creator is bestowal, and you're like in between. So you're in between these two discernments. All right. So this is where you're getting like kind of grinded, but this grinding is good because you understand what this is, and you begin to understand what this is too. Right. In between both of these things, you begin to get an idea of what, I'm like this. Oh, I want to be like this. Okay. So you got these two things. So on the one hand, we're suffering because our desire to receive is like kind of completely giving us obstacles all the time, trying to stop us along the path, and it's annoying and it's tiring, okay? But on the other hand, it develops a greater desire for a person to connect with the Creator. At that time, the more he regrets, the more he becomes needy of the Creator's help. Since then, he sees that he cannot exit self-love by himself, but only the Creator himself can help him. So we have to get to such a limit that our desire to receive, we're going to feel like it's really choking us, right? It's like somebody help, okay? And that's when the Creator comes to help. When you feel like this desire to receive is completely choking you and it's completely controlling you, and there's nothing you can do against it. And on the other hand, because you've got the dot in the heart who wants this, connection with the Creator, then that part of you can like scream for help. And when you can do that accordingly, then the Creator helps. Okay. This is not a matter of understanding, but a matter of feeling. Also, this is a very important sentence. This is not a matter of understanding, but a matter of feeling. So we really have to feel like we're in between these two discernments. We really have to feel like our desire to receive has got complete control over us. And if this dot in the heart hadn't awakened, and if the Creator wasn't like kind of giving it a bit of, awakening every now and then, so that we can take a look at our existence from that opposite perspective, we'd never really have any idea or have an understanding of what our nature is like. Because a lot of people out there in the world, they don't really feel like their desire to receive is choking them, or their desire to receive is controlling them, right? They're just behaving like, well, normal, let's say, right? Which is not normal, but let's just call it normal for the moment, okay? So because we've got the dot in the heart as well, every now and then we have the ability to take a look at our desire to receive and how it's functioning from the side of bestowal. And that actually allows us to see the truth. And when that happens, we can then realize that our real enemy is that desire to receive for ourselves in us. If the Lord does not build the house, they who built it labor in it in vain. So the Creator has to build inside of us this attribute of bestowal, which can counterfeit the will to receive. And it's got to do it in the equal manner. So the bigger the desire to receive I have, the Creator must compensate me with the same equivalent counter bestowing force, so that I can be in between two exact opposite forces. All right, their strength must be the same. Otherwise, I can't get a proper discernment. I can't make a proper calculation either. Okay, any questions, dramas? Nothing at the moment. All right. Let's move on to number 3. This is also from Rabash, article number 2. What is, return, O Israel, unto the Lord your God in the work? When a person is in an ascent, he thinks that he no longer needs the Creator's help, since now he has a basis of feeling, which he called knowledge. In other words, now he knows for what purpose he's working. His work is no longer above reason because he has a basis to rely on, meaning this feeling that he feels that this state is good for him. On this basis, he determines the work. At that time, he is immediately thrown from above, and it is as though he is asked, where is your wisdom? You said that you already know on what the work relies. Thus, as long as one thinks of himself as a fool, meaning that the basis of the work is above reason, and that he needs the help of the Creator, the person says, unless the Lord builds the house, they who labored in it worked in vain. Specifically, in this way, the Creator is called the Lord is the keeper of Israel. So let's read this again. When a person is in an ascent, he thinks that he no longer needs the Creator's help, since now he has a basis of feeling which he called knowledge. In other words, now he knows for what purpose he's working. This work is no longer above reason, because he has a basis to rely on, meaning this feeling that he feels that this state is good for him. On this basis, he determines the work. Okay, what does that mean for us? Now, when we're working, sometimes we have ascents in the work as well, right? It's not always about descending. Sometimes we work and we get a good feeling that we're in an ascent. What does that mean? It means I kind of understand where I'm at. All right, so I'm going through a situation and I understand where I'm at, and that's kind of giving me an ascent. Why? Because understanding is reception. So if I can clarify a situation, understand my position, where I am, then I get a good feeling. All right, when I get a good feeling that I'm understanding where I am, then obviously I'm not going to need the Creator, am I? Okay. So immediately, once the Creator has given me an ascent, I'm actually getting a descent back. Okay. So understanding how to use the ascent is essential. All right. Otherwise, you're going to be going up and down and you're not wondering, you're wondering what's going on. So the ascent is good. On the one hand, you've got knowledge. If you stay in that situation, you won't need the Creator. So what you have to do is, once you've ascended and clarified a position or a situation that was not clear before, you must now have that as a foundation, but to move to the next step and not drown in that good feeling, because it could take ages until you get out of it again, or the Creator will just have to refresh his slap. Okay. What else can you do, right? Okay. So that's the whole idea. So what you have to understand is that once I have an ascent, I've got to use it properly. So then I can start working on the next degree, which should be, again, a blurry, not so clear situation. And then I get help from the Creator again. And then I have another ascent, and I'm constantly building one ascent after the other, but I'm using the ascent not to stay in that good feeling, but as a foundation to add on. What am I supposed to add? I'm supposed to add the attribute of bestowal. Okay, so we were working, and then we came to a point where we kind of added something to the work, which elevated us to a level of understanding. Now, from that level of understanding, I've got to add to the work. And when I'm adding more bestowal, I'm actually entering another dark situation, because more bestowal is always more darkness. Okay, so if you get the formula, you understand what I'm talking about, and then you won't fall off the bandwagon. More bestowal, to add more bestowal, is always more darkness for the will to receive. Okay, that's just how it is. So if I've actually elevated myself a little bit in bestowal, I have to add for the next step. Okay, so if I don't add, I feel good, then I don't need the Creator, because you also don't pray when you feel good in life. You're like, I don't know, you're all thankful, all jolly, go lucky kind of person, right? But when do you need the Creator? All of a sudden life starts getting a little dark and you think, oh my God, please help me out. Okay, so same kind of thing. It's human nature. There's nothing we can do about it. So that's how we determine the work. At that time, he is immediately thrown from above. Thrown from above means that he's getting more aviyut, right? More egoism. That's the new darkness. So if you don't search for that new level, the Creator has to give you that new level, the beginning of that new level, which is more of you. So you're never actually descending in spirituality, although it says you're immediately thrown from above. Okay, it's not a descent like we're losing everything. It's a state where how can I say it? It's a new opportunity to go one step higher. You never go back in spirituality, just like you can never go back in life. Okay. Yesterday will never catch yesterday again. That's it. It's game over. All right. So what I do today determines tomorrow. If I can use the new foundation and I can search for where my lacks are, then great. Okay. I can move forward in that good state. If I don't, then the creator immediately will throw one from above. And it's as though he's asked, where's your wisdom? Okay. Because the whole idea is your ascent should have been used in order to find your own, in order to find another lack. Okay. Another deficiency, another lack. All right. Something else that you need to correct. Okay. This is why you got to you got to keep searching all the time what to fix, what to correct, what to change. Okay. And if you're missing out on that because you feel good, then the question is, where's your wisdom? So I elevated you, and why aren't you using that new state? Okay. You said that you already know on what the work relies. Thus, as long as one thinks of himself as a fool, meaning that the basis of the work is above reason and that he needs the help of the creator, the person says, unless the Lord builds the house, they who labored in it work in vain. Specifically, in this way, the creator is called the Lord is the keeper of Israel. So every time I've got to use my experiences, what I've gone through before, in order to build the next step. Okay. And until the next step, I can never, ever be sure that I'm correct. So until our final correction, a person who's advancing correctly is always going to see his foolishness. Okay. This doesn't mean that you're not getting wiser, by the way. We are, okay, because we're getting experience all the time. But the important thing is to use the experience correctly in order to keep moving forward and not to stall. Okay, we're on item number 4. Well, we've got a question, have we? How can we look for avyut? Patricia's asking. That's a nice question. Avyut means when my egoism is increasing, right? So what do I have to do first? First, when we're studying, we have a group of friends to study with. Okay. The more I try to connect with them, the more avyut should kind of be revealed automatically. Okay. So every time I want to connect with the friends more, something against the connection should appear. That's how you search for it. This is why we're always working on the side of love and bestowal, right? The right line. So I always want to relate to the friends in a good way, in a decent way, in a loving way, supporting way. And the more I do that, the more my ego is going to say, what are you doing? Okay, like we read in the previous excerpts, right? Because I'm like moving the love and I'm up with this guy, you nuts. What's going on? Okay, so that's avyut. Okay, so now I've got to think to myself, well, what do I have to do to overcome this? Okay, it will avyut, your extra egoism, your desire to receive for yourself is only going to appear more if you do something against it. You see, the evil in us does not appear if we don't work in an opposite way. Okay, if I'm a desire to receive and I'm not working in order to bestow, I don't feel like I'm a bad person. If you go out onto the street and tell people you're an egoist, they'll be like, what are you talking about? I'm a nice guy. Okay, everybody's a nice guy all of a sudden on the street. Why? Because they don't see the evil. To see the evil, you got to work on love. That's how it works. Okay. I hope that makes sense. This is why we've got to work on love of friends all the time. So now if I feel good, so the question is now this, if I've received an ascent and I feel good, what should I do? Right? That's the question. Let's read number 4. What does it mean that the ladder is diagonal in the work? A person should see that he is being pushed away from the Creator, meaning see how far he is from adhesion with the Creator, called to bestow, and that he is immersed in self-love. And the more he wants to increase the work of bestowal, the more he sees that he is retreating, meaning that the evil within him is intensifying with each day. So obviously, this is a person working day to day, right? He's working good day to day. Finally, he decides that it is impossible that he will be able to be freed from self-love, and says that unless the Creator helps him, he is lost. He says, now I do not need to believe that the Creator helps. Rather, now he is rewarded with adhesion with the Creator. He will say that he sees within reason that the Creator helped him. This is as it is written, unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in it in vain. There is nothing he can do but ask the Creator to help him emerge from the control of the will to receive. All right, so let's go through this again. Excerpt number 4. A person should see that he is being pushed away from the Creator, meaning to see how far he is from adhesion with the Creator, called bestowal, and that he is immersed in self-love. So when I work, when I'm studying the wisdom of Kabbalah and actually applying it in the group, I should see that I'm constantly pushed away, rejected by the Creator. And the more he wants to increase the work of bestowal, which is love of friends, supporting the friends, nullifying to all the situations so we can, contribute to spirituality. And the more he wants to increase the work of bestowal, the more he sees that he is retreating, meaning that the evil within him is intensifying each day. So this is actually what we should come to see, right? A lot of people think spirituality is like, I don't know, it's like picking blackberries in the forest. Everyone thinks we're all going to feel nice and jolly. But spirituality in the wisdom of Kabbalah is the wisdom of truth. So if I study, I should come to see the truth. And what truth are we looking at? Our nature. Because the wisdom of Kabbalah is me studying myself. So the more I'm studying it, the more I come to realize what I am. Without understanding what I am, I can never depict what I would like to be, or what the Creator is like, being my opposite. Okay, so this is the important thing here, because reality is perceived, as we've learned before, in between two opposite ends. So in order for me to depict what I want to be after revealing how evil I am, can only happen if I reveal evil, because then I can kind of work on the opposite. Okay, if I see this is bad about me, I can say I need to do the opposite of that. Okay, and that's the whole point. Why? Because the Creator is not revealed yet. Okay, we don't know the Creator. But from one opposite, we can begin to depict the other opposite. And then I can yearn towards that opposite. And that yearning will attract the light that reforms. Because I'm like a kid then, aren't I? I'm trying to grow up. So I want to become something. In order for me to become something, I have to have a vision of what I want to become. How to build the vision of the Creator by seeing what I am and deciding that I don't want to be like this, but I would like to be the opposite of what I am. Finally, he decides that it's impossible that he will be able to be freed from self-love, and says that unless the Creator helps him, he is lost. So understanding the truth about myself allows me to want to be the opposite of what I am, which is the Creator. Then I understand that I cannot change myself, but I can want to be something that I depict. Okay, just like in this world as well. Even though I'm not rich, I may want to be rich. I don't know what it is to be rich, but I've got a depiction, an idea of what I can be, what I can do, and so forth. Same with spirituality, with bestowal. And I know what bestowal is, but the more I realize that egoism is bad, and then from that opposite end, I can want to be something else, something better. This is why if I'm poor, I can depict what it's like to be rich, because then I can say, oh, I want to do all these things that I can't do right now. So same here, right? I mean, egoism, I understand it causes me suffering. So I want to get out of that suffering. And now I can depict to myself what the creator is, what bestowal is like. But I have a problem. I can't change my own nature. So I need to put the creator into action. So everything I'm doing when I'm moving towards the love of friends, acting in that direction, is actually to bring me to see the truth. Because then from seeing the truth, I can actually build the truth, which is bestowal. Okay, so from one truth, I'm building another reality. And that's it. And once we reach adhesion with the creator, then it becomes obvious to a person that the creator is the only force that can change him. And all that he has to do is to come to the right request. For me to come to the right request, I have to come to see the truth. If I don't see the truth, I cannot want anything properly. It cannot be the right request. Okay, that's that. Let's go on to item number 5. This is again Rabash, article number 18. When is one considered a worker of the creator in the work? Why specifically they who sow in tears reap in song? It's because they sow in tears, meaning that each time he sees that he must begin to sow anew, as though until now he has done nothing. He sees that time is moving forward and that he is going backwards, causing him sorrow and pain. By this, he constantly becomes more needy of the Creator's help. This means that each time he sees himself, how inherently incapable he is to exit self-love, except through a miracle from above. From all this suffering, a true need and kli is created in him, meaning that now he sees what is written. Unless the Lord builds a house, they who built it worked in vain. Only the Creator can help. It follows that specifically through they who sow in tears, a person can obtain the need for the Creator's salvation. For then reap in song comes true. Sowing means making the kli, and reaping means the reception of the light. That is, the light comes into the kli. This means that when the deficiency is filled, this is called reaping. All right, so as you can see, it's always talking about the same kind of thing, right? These excerpts are really good because they're kind of like constantly carving into us the kind of things that we should be going through. Remember, the articles of Rabash are kind of depicting, describing to us the states that we're going to go through, right? If we're going through a state, we can clarify the situation with the article. If we haven't gone through that state yet, we can have some kind of an at least intellectual, hold on what we can expect. And when we do go through that situation, we can say, oh, I read that in the article. I'm supposed to go through that. So that's nice. All right. Why specifically they who sow in tears reap in song? It's because they sow in tears, meaning that each time he sees that he must begin to sow anew, as though until now he has done nothing. So basically, every day we have to renew our work, start on a fresh page. Okay, every day. And I know it's like crazy, like how can we constantly start to work anew? But it's logical as well. It's rather logical because the you who was how can I say, the you of yesterday is not the same you of today. So every day when we wake up, actually, we start life anew, because until the morning that I woken up, I get up, I've kind of accumulated all the experiences until I wake up, and then I wake up and it's a new day. It's a new day, it's a new start, it's a new me. I'm actually starting life every day fresh, okay? Because I'm constantly accumulating. Now, same in spirituality as well. So I'm constantly working, starting fresh. And it's constantly accumulating in us experiences and sensations, understandings, going through all kinds of discernments. He sees that time is moving forward and that he's going backwards, causing him sorrow and pain. So I'm working, and I feel like I'm going backwards. Why? Because I'm working in the love of friends, and I see now more and more things in me that are against working towards the love of friends. So that's why I feel like I'm going backwards. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I'm working to come to the love of friends, so I should be moving more in loving, right? I should love them more every day. Okay, that's the whole idea. That's what logic says, right? So I'm working every day to love the friends. So every day my love for the friends should actually increase. Common sense, right? Actually, that kind of common sense won't work here. It'll only work in England, right? The British have the common sense thing, okay? That kind of stuff only works there. Spirituality, it's the other way around. Why? Because we're working in order to bestow, but our nature is reception. So every day I feel like I'm further and further away from bestowal, okay? So it's completely against common sense. By this, he constantly becomes more needy of the Creator's help. Why? Because every day I'm thinking, why is that happening like that? How can it be that I'm constantly working towards better connection with the friends and I'm feeling like I'm more distant, right? Because I'm revealing the truth. And the more I reveal the truth, the more I begin to need the Creator, because I'm working and I'm not getting anywhere. That's the whole idea of spending all your energy, like wiping yourself out, because then I'm like left with nothing. I've done everything and there's nothing I can do to change my own nature. So that's actually a good thing, because then I realize I need help. This means that each time he sees himself, how inherently incapable he is to exit self-love, except through a miracle from above. From all this suffering, a true need and kli is created in him, meaning that now he sees what is written. Unless the Lord builds a house, they who built it worked in vain. Only the Creator can help. Okay, so this is really important to understand as well, because the more I'm working, the more I discover that I don't want to bestow. I don't even want to get close to that situation. On the other hand, we've got the dot in the heart, which is giving us a bit of a, sensation that we want to go forward in bestowal. So we're left in a dilemma, okay? And the greater the distance between the dot in the heart, okay? Imagine this. This is how it should work out for you. So we've got the dot in the heart and we've got the desire to receive. Now, when we first start the wisdom of Kabbalah, they're very close to each other. Okay, as we study more and more, the distance between them gets more and more. It's like this elastic band. Have I got one here? I don't think I've got one here, but if you have an elastic band, you just keep stretching it, right? The distance between our desire to receive and the will to bestow, the dot in the heart, becomes more and more distant. This is why when we first come to the study, we understand and that we agree with all this love and bestowal. This is like, oh, great, And then we start working on the love of friends. All of a sudden, we have problems with the friends. We have problems inside of ourselves against this attribute called bestowal and the love of friends. And so that distance is going like, extending like an elastic band. And that extension is actually allowing us to discern both ends of the situation, So how I got here and where I ended up is like completely out of whack, because I thought, because we're already agreeing with it, this should be easy, we'll just get it done. But when you work on it, you begin to understand that you're completely against that situation. And the understanding of that allows you to turn to the Creator with a proper prayer, not a childish cry, but a well-formulated inner feeling. And that's called a true need for the Creator. Okay. It follows that specifically through they sow in tears. A person can obtain the need for the Creator's salvation, for then reap in song comes true. So as we work more and more and more, the study, the work, the whole process becomes frustrating. Okay, so we should have this inner frustration, inner depression. I don't want to call it depression because I don't want to get it mixed up with the depression in the outside world. It causes frustration. It causes I don't know, you on the one hand, you also, it causes grief as well, okay? Because you understand the state you're in, you can't change from it. Then you got to turn to the Creator. Then you got all kinds of, calculations of how am I going to turn to the Creator? Who is the Creator? What am I supposed to turn to? So a person's constantly going through a lot of confusion, right? And these confusing states bring a person to despair because you really end up not knowing what to do with yourself, okay? Because you come to see the truth. On the other hand, you've got this dot in the heart and you're like, well, what am I going to do? So that's good because that's the vessel we need because we are absolutely we absolutely have no idea what to do. Okay. And that's a feeling that I need something. Okay. I need some outside help. All right. So that's very important. And we shouldn't be really despaired of all that situation, all the annoyances and the darkness, confusion, like all these inner frustrations. We shouldn't really despair from them because it brings to a person really to come to a correct prayer is like seemingly with no words. You just feel like, blank. I can't do anything. I need help. Okay. And it's like the Creator reads the heart and it's not your words. So that's the kind of state we should come to. And that's called a deficiency. So on the one hand, we're sowing in tears due to all this confusion, all these dissents all the time, never knowing how I'm going to do something, never knowing if I'm doing something right even. We don't even know if we're doing anything right. It's completely, you're in the dark, right? But all those things are good because afterwards the Creator helps. And that's like when you're like, okay. So once you reach that, things lighten up a little bit and then you can move forward with a bit more clarity. Okay, so that's about it. So we've stopped at number 6. We'll call it a night. Okay, we'll call it a night. Have a good night, everyone. Hopefully, I'm still a bit under the weather, but hopefully we get well this week. And next Tuesday we'll continue as usual. In the interim, have a good one. All the best and take care. Bye-bye.